What's good guys, and welcome to the SYNTHO YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know about Ableton Session View. It's unlocked huge parts of my creativity and it's allowed me to release on my dream labels. If you're someone who struggles with Ableton Session View, or perhaps you just don't know where to start, then this is the video for you.
SYNTHO.
Ableton Session View is an extremely powerful tool, and I use it as my sketchpad for when I'm writing my ideas. In Session View, we have these clear different sections. Going vertically, we have our channels or tracks, and these are the individual sounds we have within our project. Then going horizontally, we have our scenes, and we can use this to create different sections in our tracks. By pressing this play button, we can activate everything we have in this specific scene. At the top here, we have our record buttons. On the left, we have our arrangement record button, which is going to record into arrangement view, but we're going to be working with the session view record button, which is going to be specifically used for working and recording within session view. In the top left, we have our track BPM, which is going to sync up with the speed of our session view project. We have an extended version of the mixer, which gives us clear faders to work with. You can drag this up slightly to then view the usual number values that you'd have access to in arrangement view. Also in session view, you have these visual send knobs, which you can easily send tracks to your return channels. When you have a specific track armed, every single clip has its own individual record button. This means you can record specifically into that clip and that clip alone. When a track isn't armed, those record buttons are going to turn into stop buttons, which allow you to stop and pause that particular clip. It's really easy to get started in Ableton Session View, and all you need to do is set up a new MIDI channel or an audio channel and you'll be able to run straight away. So we're going to start with our kick drum, and we're going to double click on this area and this will open up the piano roll. You can use Ableton Session View to either record with your MIDI keyboard or simply use a mouse. I prefer to use a MIDI keyboard, but for this video, we're going to be showing you with the mouse just to show you how easy it is to do. Let's start by making a classic house beat. We'll input our kick drum by double clicking. And we now have our classic 4/4 pattern. To play this, all we have to do is simply press the play button on this clip. This is now going to loop forever and ever until we turn it off. If we want to stop it, all we have to do is press this little square button at the bottom. You'll see here that you'll see all of these square buttons, and these represent stop buttons for that individual channel. What's great about Session View is you can build up lots of different clips and turn them on and off on the fly, making you really creative as you go through the process. So let's turn on our kick and then add our clap. We're going to arm the channel, and you'll see here these stop buttons turn into record buttons. So if you wanted to record something on the fly, you'd simply have to press one of these buttons and it would record specifically into that area or clip. Because we're using our mouse, we're going to double click and then input our clap pattern. Now we can press play and then turn on our clap clip. Next up is our hats. I'm using the pen tool this time by pressing the letter B to turn it on. And now we have a really simple house beat made really quickly and easy using Session View. This will loop over and over again until we change the length of our clips or we start to add new things. Next we'll input our bass line and we can really start to get this groove rolling. We're going to double click on the clip and then input our notes. Now that we've got our bass line, we can now start to turn clips on and off and create a small little arrangement. So I can turn off the kick drum and start to control it this way. This shows you how easy it is to control Ableton by turning on and off these clips. And you can hear, you can really start to create the basis of where your track is going to go. We're going to add another layer just so we have a bit more to work with, and then we can start to look at how we can arrange the track from here. What's really cool about working with the clips is that you can copy the MIDI from one channel onto the other, and you can start to layer sounds really simply. I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and drag this over onto the high organ channel. Now I simply have to press play, and this will now be layered on top. That sounded a little loud, so we're going to use the mixer section to turn that down and have it nice and balanced in our track. When you work in session view versus arrangement view, you can really clearly see the decibel levels of each individual channel. This is going to really help you when you start to mix your track and make your life a lot easier later on down the line. Now that we've got our core and foundation elements created, we can start to be thinking about where the track is going to go in the arrangement. It's really simple to do, and all we have to do is duplicate the layers over and over. This is referred to as scenes, and this means everything in that particular row. On the right hand side below the master channel, you can see the numbered rows. These are the scenes that I was talking about earlier, and we're going to be using those a lot when we're arranging our track. I'm going to select this and press Command or Control D to duplicate it, and I can duplicate this as many times as I want. I work this way by having all the elements I need, duplicating them multiple times, and then adding or removing elements to create the different sections in my track. So let's maybe have an intro by removing our bass and organ. Then we're going to maybe bring in our bass, remove our kick and our bass to create a breakdown. Then finally, we're going to duplicate this one more time and then have everything come back in to create a drop. Again, what we can do is we can hold down Alt or Option and drag this down, or we can press Command D on an individual clip, and this will move this down as many times as we need. As you can see, now we have clear different sections, and this will start to build up our arrangement. We're then going to go to the right and name them, so we can clearly see this in our project. So we're going to rename this by pressing Command R and intro, bass in, organ in, breakdown, and drop. Now we have a clear arrangement, and all we have to do is press the play button on our scenes to play the entire row together. Go to the breakdown. Maybe we'll turn off our clap as well. And you can see how easy it was for me to build up a simple beat really quickly in session view. For me, session view is like a musical sketchpad where I can try ideas and grooves and build up the track from there. By not working in arrangement view, I'm spending less time worrying about how the track looks and more time focusing on the core concepts of the track and how it sounds. If you're someone that gets stuck in a creative rut, then this might be the way for you to work. You can see how easy it was to simply move my track around by taking away elements. This will mean you'll be spending less time stuck in the loop stage and more time evolving your ideas into a finished track. Now we're going to add a little bit more complexity to the track by working with some audio channels. Currently we've only been working with 4-bar loops, and you can actually layer loops as long or short as you need, and they're all going to be syncing up to the BPM of your track. To show you this, we'll start by setting the BPM to maybe say 130 BPM, and then we'll add a drum loop just to fill out the groove. Currently, we've only got it in this one particular scene, so we'll want to duplicate this multiple times so we have it in every single scene. Now we can start. Turn this down. You'll see at the bottom here, you have these wheels counting down. And this tells you how long before this particular clip resets. This one is built up of 1 bar, so 4 beats, and this one is built up of 2 bars, so 8 beats. see that these are resetting a lot quicker, but at the same time still synced up. When you're working with audio channels, make sure the clips are warped so they're going to be syncing up to your BPM. Next, we'll start to look at adding variation to our clips and extending them on if we need to. So we're going to have a look at our bass line and turn it from a 1-bar loop into a 4-bar loop. All we need to do is open the clip and press the duplicate button twice, and this will duplicate that entire section over. Now we can add small little variations to our bass line to keep the listener engaged. Let's maybe put this note up an octave by pressing Shift and up, and then duplicating this note across by pressing Command D, and then putting this one down an octave by pressing Shift and down. Now if we listen from this section halfway through, rather than having to listen the whole bit, we can, if you look for the little speaker button, this will play from that point. And that has this nice little bit at the end for the listener to latch onto. Now we simply have to duplicate this across so it's in all our different sections of the track. And hold down Alt and drag this to the bottom here. We'll color this different so we can see it, and then drag this across here so it's copied across on our organ as well, and duplicate this across. You can see just how easy it is to change and tweak things on the fly and test out new creative ideas as you go along. Sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it doesn't, but it really doesn't matter because you have the flexibility to tweak it at any point. If I were to trial out an idea and it didn't work, all I'd have to do is simply drag it to the bottom and just leave it for later. It's good to not delete stuff because you really never know when you might use it or need it. And sometimes that can be the inspiration for a new idea that's really going to make the track pop. Say this was our old version of our bass line, we can simply drag this to the bottom and leave it there in an empty scene that we're not going to use. Then I can fill that space with our new bass line and we can work from there. Another really cool feature of Ableton Session View is you can record automation into specific clips. So let's have a look at our breakdown and maybe we can add a flanger sound to really create a sense of intensity. So let's add this flanger, and then we're going to have a look at the Session View record button. The main one that you normally look at is actually Arrangement View record. And you have this second button here, which is the Session View record button. And this is going to record specifically into Session View. Now you have two options when you're working with Session View automation. You can either open the clip and do it manually, or you can record it in yourself on the fly. Now you can see that every time that clip replays, that automation is going to restart. If I were to click on another clip, if we want that automation to be there, we have to make sure we duplicate the one with the automation on. So this one doesn't have it on, but the one with a break on has that brand new automation. If you wanted to do this manually, simply click on it, head over to the envelope section, click on that, and then you can see we've got this automation we've recorded in ourselves. This little drop down bar here will allow you to select what parameter you're going to be automating. So you could find maybe something on the EQ. In this particular case, we're using the flanger and then the dry wet. You have then access to all of these different parameters, which you can then automate on this specific clip that we're working with. This is just another aspect of Session View, which gives you loads of creative control and flexibility when you're trialing out new ideas and sketching towards that finished track. So now that we've got the basis of our track and we've got the rough arrangement sorted, we then want to transfer this over to Arrangement View so we can start doing the final tweaks and getting it ready to be finished. You can actually arrange the entire track on the fly by pressing scenes and activating the different sections of your track. You simply have to press the Arrangement Record button and you can record the entire track into Arrangement View. Let's do a quick arrangement of this track so you can see exactly how it works. We'll start by selecting our intro and then pressing the stop button so we start recording from the very start of our Arrangement View, and then we're going to press the Arrangement Record button and this will then transfer into Arrangement View from Session View. Any changes you make as you go along will automatically be put in, so you can really arrange on the fly. We've now brought in our bass simply by pressing the play button on our scenes. Let's turn off the kick and bring in the organ. And go into our breakdown. Maybe take out the clap and the hat. And back into the drop. As you can see now, everything that I've played in there has transferred directly from session view into arrangement view. And this is the more typical view that you'd see for a finished project. Now I simply have to press this little orange button in the top right corner, and this will mean that everything stops playing in session view and starts playing in arrangement view. If you do see that in the top right corner, it means that something is probably playing from session view. You can see here all the little changes that I made manually by turning the kick on and off have been put in and recorded in as I played them. This allows me to trial new ideas on the fly and access levels of creativity I wouldn't have access to if I just started working in arrangement view. Now that I've got everything laid out in arrangement view, I can look at doing my fine tweaks and moving towards finishing the track. Now we're going to have a look at one of my finished projects where we've taken a much more complex groove and track and finalize it using the exact same techniques that we've covered in this video. So this is my track Black Box, which I released on Gene on Earth's label Limousine Dream. Now whilst this may look more complex, this is actually covering all the techniques that we've looked at in this video. As you can see here, we've got all these individual scenes representing different sections in our tracks, allowing me to arrange really easily. You've also got some of these trial ideas where I've used Ableton Session View as my musical sketchpad. I have my intro, then bring in some new ideas, and then working towards creating new sections in my track. Moving into a breakdown. Easily turning things on and off. I then transferred all of my ideas from session view into arrangement view, allowing me to easily lay out my entire track and working towards fine tweaking it until it was finished. This track only came about because of how I worked within session view, allowing me to really be creative, trial out new ideas and easily arrange the project. I focused more on the core concepts of the track and less on how it looked in arrangement view. By having things looping over and over again, I could trial out new ideas and see how they sounded. This allowed me to push myself creatively and get the most out of this track. So hopefully you guys have seen the potential within Ableton Session View and made it far less intimidating for you. Hopefully it's going to allow you to unlock your new levels of creativity and worry less about the arrangement side of things and more on the core concepts of your track. If you want to check out more videos like this, then make sure you head over to the SYNTHO app.